Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Tarot Brunch at the Roundtable. Today, episode 8, where we talk about all the 8s in the tarot deck. And of course, I have some lovely guests with me. There is Carla from Carla's Trilogy. We've got Ange from Tiny Trinkets and Tarot, who could finally make it. I'm so happy you're here. And we have a returning guest, Amy from Strength Reversed. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Okay, and I saw that Orshi already commented. She will be rewatching this later. And Tanji is here. Boop, hi. Thanks for watching. And yeah, so today we're talking about the 8s. So before we go into the tarot, what kind of association do you have with the number 8 outside of tarot, like in general? Carla?
Well, I was born on September 28th. Other than that, 8s for me, especially after preparing for this, I think that they're like a pivotal moment in time. Like you're teetering, you can go forward or you can go backwards. It just depends on your state of mind. And I think link it like it's polarity. You know, I see the infinity sign on top of the strength card, and I feel like that is representative of 8. Other than that, I can't think of anything at the moment on what to associate it with, you know, like the 7s. When we just did the 7s, it's like thinking of all sorts of stuff for that one, but it's escaping me right now. So that's what I got.
Amy?
I've always it feels very balanced just because it is, you know, the same on the top and the bottom and the same, you know, backwards and forwards. And I'm always imagine an 8 kind of rolling around, which is to me interesting because it's a double 4, and 4s are very square and solid and stable, and 8s are double that. And to me, it's very powerful, but it's also balanced.
And?
Yes, exactly. I was going to say double the amount of the structure of the 4, which is 8. So I often think of it like that. But I only started thinking of it like that when I learned tarot. I didn't think of it like that before because 4 being, you know, the whole structure of the tarot. But outside of tarot, immediately I think of the 8 ball. You know, I love the 8 ball. I actually have one, but I also have a deck of cards that are also 8 ball related, which are pretty cool. So they have little messages just like the 8 ball does. They're from Make Playing Cards. It's just kind of fun and cheeky, so I like that. But also the number 8, just like you were saying about the infinity symbol, Carla, that's what it always reminds me of. Like if you turn it sideways, you know, it looks like the infinity symbol. And I always enjoyed like making the number 8, even when I was a kid, like just starting to learn how to draw or write, I guess, my numbers. I always enjoyed that, just the shape of it. And then I also have another deck. It's called the Elements deck for the periodic table because I'm a science geek like that. And if anyone knows their periodic table, number 8 is oxygen. And we need oxygen to survive, right? So 8 is a very important number, even on the periodic table, because without it, we would not survive. And I kind of look at it like that in the tarot as well, and we'll obviously get more into that when we get there. But yeah, thanks for asking.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's mostly like the infinity sign. That's like the obvious one. And then when I hear the number 8, something that comes to mind for me is Henry VIII. That's like the most famous 8 that I have in my mind. And yeah, other than that, I don't really think about the number 8 too much, so I don't really have too many associations with that outside of tarot, actually.
I think it's very meditative to write an 8. You can just write it over and over without picking up your pencil. It's very calming. And I did Middle Eastern dance for many years, and we do figure 8s, and it's also calming it's a calming movement. It's kind of meditative.
Yes.
Yeah.
And come on. My computer is a bit slow. Huh? My computer is a bit slow today. Come on, let's do this. So April said, yeah, but isn't it that the 8-ball always the one you go to find answers to questions? The 8-ball gives you validation and advice.
Yes.
Come on.
Yep. That was my first form of divination in terms of going for advice, is the 8-ball.
I never had an 8-ball. I've always seen that, like in movies and stuff, and I always wanted one, but I never had one.
I just
think
always
my
hate when
sister
people like
in
shook
America.
it. You're not supposed to
Yeah.
shake it, and people shake it, and I'm like, what are you doing? Because it gets it all bubbly, and then you can't see the answer. Oh.
Did you guys used to ask it over and over until you got the answer you wanted?
Hell
Yes.
yeah.
It would say, cannot, ask again later.
No.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, but we can get the same kind of attitude from tarot cards. So
True.
I mean,
Right? See?
I've had that. I've had that moment where my cards asking the same question 3 times in a row. Third time we're like,
Yeah.
really?
So true.
I've had that. And then I was like, okay. Message received.
Yep.
Okay, so we got some other people coming in here. I've seen Jonathan. Gerald is here. Hello. Thanks for joining us. So let's get into the 8s. We're going to start with, and I will focus on the 8 as strength card. I know 8 can also be justice, so I don't know if any of you have the justice in this, but for me, I'm going to keep the 8 at strength. And then we're going to talk about the star, 17, which is also 8, and then we're going to go into the minors. So, let's see.
Oh man, I forgot to pull the star.
Well, then we're going to start with if my computer does what it's supposed to. Oh, come on. Don't be difficult.
I knew I forgot something.
So, let me do this. Okay, then, Carla, we'll start with you. Tell us something about the strength card.
Well, I noticed that it is the solar plexus, so I did representative of the solar plexus. So I did pull out my psychic tarot because it has these nice cards in it. And then obviously this one is the strength card in it, and it says power. So for me, this card from the Light Seers represents to me kind of what it means is like she has quiet strength, but she also has inner strength that she has overcome, like she's keeping that at bay, but it doesn't mean that wild side isn't there or that the beast isn't there. It's just that this is the face she puts forward. So it shows courage, it shows bravery, control. So let's see, that's about all I'm getting from that card. I did pull out my smoke, ash, and embers. So the strength card. And it looks like that dragon might be a little bit afraid of the mouse or the little critter there. Or maybe he is controlling himself from eating it, so that's like self-control there. Let's see. Oh, and this one, and Supernatural. This is Benny, and Benny from Supernatural. He is a vampire, and he has to fight his inner demon, so to speak, to overcome his bloodthirsty nature. So that shows, control, even though, he's tempted, he shows major control. Let's see, I think that might be, oh no, I did pull out my, the strength card from the Everyday Witch. I got the mini deck. But anyway, I like that too, because that, that's her taming the wild beast, or having control over the wild beast. And I like that. And also, there's the weather is a little bit uncontrollable there, but she's very calm, So, but that's all I pulled out. So for me, the strength card is all about inner strength and your self-esteem, overcoming all that, being inner strength, and then of course, like the shadow side of that is fighting the self-doubt and the inadequacy and all that. So that's it.
Oh, is it me? Oh my God. I'm not ready for my close-up. You have to warn me. Okay, well, I did have the Light Seers also, because I love that deck, but I have a few others, a lot of others. I'm still like mad that I forgot to pull the star. But anyway, I have the Santa Muerte. I love the Lucha Libre guy. I just think that's a great strength card, just taming the beast. And does anyone have any strength cards that are not lions?
Yeah, just the vampire one, or not the vampire, dragon one.
Okay. Most of mine are lions. I do have one that's a snake, but I did not pull that one out. And this is the Mystical Moments. I just like this one because she's like feeding the lion almost, it looks like, but also comforting it. And I think that's what a lot of us need to do for ourselves, is the parts of us that are really the most troubled, or that cause us the most trouble, or that we don't like the most, a lot of times need our love, and it's very hard to do that. I have the Titanic, and I like this one because the little girl has a lion stuffed animal. So it does have the lion in there, but to me, this is a very strength moment where this mom just has to be strong and gentle, even though she's probably freaking out inside. She has to control those emotions. Let's see. This is the Wandering Moon. This is so pretty. You can't really see how much it shines, but this one is just really simple, and I like the balance of this card, just the balance of inner and outer and spirit and material world that the 8 provides, and kind of a little bit of magic. I think 8 is a little bit of a magic number. And then I have the Mott Tarot, which is so pretty. And there's a whole myth that goes along with this card that I couldn't really tell you right now. It's been a while since I've read it, but I just love that card. It's so pretty. I think that's it.
Hey, I had to mute myself there because there was commotion in the house. So, okay, so the strength card, I mean, I think a lot has already been said, but I will add to it that when I look at the strength card, I think Carl already mentioned like this turning point, right? And we're talking about the tarot, like this is turning point. But I also see that something is being forced, almost like, because when I look at it, I know we haven't come to the star yet, but if you look at this feels like forced, where this is like flow, like go with the flow, but this is like forced. So, and that's how I associate it, like with the number 8. Like there's a whole system in my head that I go with when I read, and I always see strength as being forced, because it's almost like it's a force, but it's a good force. Like we're forcing ourselves to be confident, to make the move, to take the actions, to take the steps that we've been needing to take for a very long time. And with that, takes a lot of courage, which is the entire, sort of meaning behind the strength card. And I pulled from the Stretch Tarot as well. This is more of like delicate, you know, I don't really see it as forceful, where this one I do see as more forceful. And then the other one that I have is This Might Hurt. Again, they're very Rider-Waite-Smith. They're all pretty much all the same in terms of that. But they all have the infinity symbol above the head, like we talked about before previously. And yeah, I just see the Strength card as that turning point, that pivotal turning point where we finally decide, I've had enough. I'm making these changes. I'm going to do the thing. And then we can see that moving into the minors, which we'll get to eventually. So.
All right. Okay, so regarding a card that has another animal in the, what is it? The Golden Wheel Tarot, which is a Slavic tradition. Here we have a bear. There it's not a lion. So, and I do have another card that I'm going to show in a bit that also has other animals. But first, let's go take a step back and let's go into the Golden Dawn, which is something that I'm very interested in. So, number 8. Let's look at our Tree of Life. Which one is it? The orange one here. So that's where we are with the number 8, and this is Hod, and that is the glory, splendor. That's the name for that Sephira. So it refers to the logical thinking mind, which is needed for good communication. Both principle and function of intellect, which can involve us in deceit, intrigue, illusion, and skepticism. So Hod and Netzach was number 7, need each other to keep the balance between the intellect and the feelings. So if we cut ourselves off from our intuition and our emotion, then it's very easy for us to overthink stuff, obsess about things, or get lost in our own thoughts. Hod is also associated with Mercury, the quick communicator of the gods, and it is associated with the top left hip in the body. And so number 7 and 8 on the tree together form the solar plexus if you put the Tree of Life onto the human body. And now with Strength, that one is actually path 19, right between the 4 and 5, that yellow line there. That is where Strength is on the Tree of Life. And that card, let me just get some. So here is an old Golden Dawn card. And here we have, I'm going to try and hold this up, another one from the Hermetic Tarot. So Strength is also called the daughter of the Flaming Sword, leader of the Lion. And we have Jupiter acting through Leo upon Mars. So Leo is the main astrological correspondence here. This path connects Geburah, which is number 5 on the tree, and Chesed, number 4. And if you put that on the human body, those are like the shoulders, the arms. So the Strength path actually leads us to the throat chakra. So this is where our strength is, basically, in the Tree of Life. And strength is achieved when these two are in harmony. And then I have another part that I didn't want to write down in this book, but that talks about the lion. So in the tarot key, the lion tamer is a magician because she has the same symbol over her head as the magician. She subdues the animal nature in a way which is natural and has nothing to do with repression. In alchemy, this is the red lion, which is a symbol of matter that has been ripened and purified. The chain of roses, which holds the lion in check, demonstrates her strength, which is one of a contemplative nature. In reference to this key, Waite says that the chain of flowers signifies the sweet yoke and light burden of divine law when it has been taken into the heart of hearts. So yeah, the Strength card is like potent, harnessed energy under the control of will, and it's about finding your center without force. So yeah, I've already showed you this card. So here we only have a few flowers in the hand. So not all the cards have what we know here, like the roses going like around the body, it seems, like a belt, and then to the lion. This one is a bit different, because there's also this cup here that has like fire coming out. So that's a very different image. But here in the Initiatory Golden Dawn, once again, we get just a few flowers, not all of the things. And she's barely even touching the lion. And he's just sitting there looking at her. And she doesn't even look at him. She's not scared of him. She is fully aware of being able to tame that force. One card that I really like is from the Haunted House tarot, when she's actually looking in the mirror. So what we see here is actually the mirror image. Here we see her real hand. So yeah, to find that strength within us, and I like that the infinity symbol here is her necklace. And another one that I find kind of cute is the Housewife's Tarot. And when I see this always reminds me of Lady Macbeth, out dem spot, out. Like scrubbing. And she was actually using force, but maybe if she had chosen a different path, she wouldn't have needed to use that much force to get that damn spot out. But yeah, the scrubbing thing. And one of my other favorite strength cards from the Lo Scarabeo Tarot. And she is just petting the lion, and they are very much just in their own world. And back here, there's other people, and it looks like they're gossiping about her, like, oh my god, did you see? She has a lion there. But she's not concerned with that at all. So another part of strength is to just don't give a crap about what other people say about you. Just you do your thing. They're probably just jealous because they would like to pet the lion too, but they can't. I mean, they might if they asked, but they're way too concerned with all of their gossip. And here's another one that doesn't have a lion. This is from the Pagan Tarot. And here the strength is for her to just sit quietly and basically not make a move too much, and let the animals come to her. And she shows that she is very relaxed, which gives the animals the opportunity to be relaxed as well and not face a threat or anything. So that way she can just be completely in nature in all ways and enjoy the animals there. And they don't have to fear her as well. She doesn't have to fear them. So yeah, that inner strength. So that was what I had for that. I see Kristen Louise came in. Hello.
Hey.
And hey to everyone who came in the meantime. Thank you for being here. So let's move on to the star card.
One thing I forgot to mention, and sometimes I definitely have my airheaded moments, and is I'm a life path 8.
Oh.
So, there's that. So the star, I think I'm a 17-8. So also the that is ruled by the crown chakra. So it makes me think about the infinity sign on the strength card. Makes me think of polarity, and I think it's the 4th principle in the Kabbalion. It talks about polarity, where like opposite ends you have say fear and courage are the same thing, but that degree is like you can, by sheer willpower, which using the solar plexus, the sheer willpower, the strength, then you turn that into, you know, courage. And then I think that's how you become the stars, by elevating that strength to a higher, you know, that's how you reach that higher level. So in the psychic tarot, that's hope. And then you have in the light seers, you see that again, like hope, inspiration, and also could mean creativity, like maybe she's creating something, because I feel like that's what we all are. We're creators. Calm, contentment, positivity, faith, healing. And, you know, I don't see, but a lot of the star cards have water. So I am kind of curious, and hopefully somebody has something about that, because I don't know what that means. But I noticed that in a lot of the star cards, there's usually water. And if I'm not mistaken, then it's Uranus in Aquarius, I think. So the star card in the supernatural is Jack. And what's really, really cool about Jack is he is actually the son of Lucifer. So he came into the world already with that, you know, and he has to overcome that. So he literally changes his destiny, and he becomes like the savior. So that's like ascension, you know, true ascension. And then in the, oh, you know what? Here it is. Totally misplaced it. I have cards everywhere. And then in the Everyday Witch, there's the star card. So I feel like the star card is that higher level, obviously, of strength. So it's like turning, you know, any type of battle that you have, focusing, and that's like the ascension, you know, focusing on all the positive. So that's what I got.
All right. I like that Everyday Witch, because it kind of shows like as above, so below. And just one more thing about back to strength. It's also an invitation and a reminder to balance out our masculine and feminine energies as well. At least that's, again, this is all just speaking of my own personal opinions and how I read the tarot. I know there's many different ways to read it, but that's why these discussions are so amazing, because I think we learn so much from one another and from what people are sharing in the chat. So thanks again for the invitation to be here. Okay, so for the star, again, a lot has been said, but if people didn't recognize already, there's 8 stars in the sky, one of them being the major star. So anytime this comes up in a reading, and of course it depends on context, but for the most part, I look at this as like a guide. You know, this card is guiding you to something. And also what I think is really interesting, and I was talking about backstage quickly, is all of the major arcana that come between the strength card and the star card, right? So if we think about it, you know, what comes between these two is everything from the Hermit all the way down to the Tower, right? That's a lot of shit. Not saying that the tarot has to be linear, because most times it's not. But if we think about all of those situations in between there, like death and the devil, the Tower and everything else, and then out comes the star. So that is always a reminder that that inner strength, and this is really interesting because I just talked about this on my live video that I did earlier today, which I didn't really plan on this connecting, but it just kind of came to me now. We can always rely on that inner strength. And that's what I feel when I see the star card, you know, and with the water here representing like our consciousness and just how it's so freely flowing. Again, I get this like go with the flow, rely on your inner strength. You know, there's hope. I mean, hope I think is so overused with this card, but really that's what it represents. So for me, like, and then also, I don't know if anybody noticed as well, but with the 8 stars in the sky, there's always 8 points to every star. And that means like renewal, right? So there's always sort of the light at the end of the tunnel and all those cliche things that we hear about. but the star card for me is always like a refreshing card when I see it. It's always like, okay, yes, this and this happened, but when this pops up, okay, now we're on the right path or heading the right way, or there's going to be some kind of healing taking place. So going with the flow and healing is very much what I get from the star card. And again, when I pulled cards, I just went with the traditional imagery. This again is from the Stretch Tarot, so it's representing all of the same thing. You got the bird and the tree and the water and the woman pouring the water there. But yeah, that's what I get from the star card.
I have no star cards to show you, but I do have something to say about the star and strength. And this kind of dinged in my head, Ange, when you held up the star and the strength card together, because you said like one was more free and one was more forced.
Yep.
One, but to me, it's the strength is not really about force. It's more about control. And I think it's about being very aware of your emotions, but not let you're being in control of them and not letting them be in control of you. And I think that takes a lot of strength. But also, when I look at strength in the star, I see a daytime, more material, mundane card in strength, and then a nighttime, more magical card in the star. And it's kind of like A Midsummer Night's Dream. There's like a daytime king and queen, and then there's the fairies, and it's like magic and mischief, and who knows how that happens. But I think that's part of what the eights are those, the two halves of the eight, being the material and the spiritual and the masculine and the feminine, and balancing those. And I think all that stuff that comes between strength and the star, I think that's kind of how we get closer to the star, is all of that crap that we go through. And we realize it can't just be us controlling our emotions and trying not to lose our shit. It has to, we have to have some magic in there and some divine, and having a balance of those things. So I think the strength is very reserved, and the star is a little, like you said, Ange, a lot more free and kind of flowy. And all of the water in the star is our unconscious, the unconscious, our emotions, the feminine, the flow.
Unconscious. Yeah, I think I said conscious. That's what I meant as unconscious. But yeah, and I think Zach mentioned, or Jonathan mentioned Aquarius for the star card, which makes sense too, right? But yeah.
All right. Okay. So going back into the Golden Dawn, the star card is the 28th path, and that is here between the 9 and the 7, that little 9 there. And so now the star card in the Golden Dawn is called the Daughter of the Firmament, the Dweller Between the Waters. And this is kind of a bad picture here because she doesn't seem to have any arms. I don't know where her arms are. So that jug of water is just flowing there, or in the air. I don't know. This is kind of weird. But we can find a lot of the elements from the modern star card. We even have a tree of light in here. And here we have a more simplistic version of a Golden Dawn deck. And so in the Golden Dawn, well, the star card is, Aquarius, as we heard. So it's Venus acting through Aquarius up on Luna. And this path is called the natural intelligence. And when we speak of something being natural, we often mean to distinguish it from things that are not natural. And this path teaches us that there's no such distinction. Everything is natural, even that which we at one point in time called supernatural, simply because we didn't understand it at the time. But what some of the things that once seemed completely fantastic, like the Earth being round, or things that we have now with science and astronomy or technology, everything at some point seemed supernatural. Now it's all very natural. So there is, the star teaches us there is no such thing as supernatural just because we can't understand it. The symbol of this path is the fish hook, and this means fishing for the truth in the depths of your psyche. And the woman that we see on the card is the archetypal Isis unveiled, the great mother who appears in her natural glory. She's also the naked body of Artemis, and this path relates directly to the as above, so below. And the challenge here is patience in fishing for the spiritual light in the murky waters of the individual psyche. So it's about balancing the energies of primal intuition, feeling, and the higher ego. So, and in the Initiatory Golden Dawn, here we have like the star constellation that is here is also reflected in the water. So I really like this, like for a representation of the as above, so below idea. This speaks more to the idea of hope with a star, and she's like in the water right here, and just for a good outcome. And with the fishing for the truth in the Ludi Lescott, this card is described as washing your hands in innocence. But yeah, if you go looking for the truth inside yourself, and if you really try to find out what certain things are all about, like how you feel about them, why you think that way, and maybe sometimes you just have to wash yourself free of whatever you were thinking or feeling because it doesn't serve you any longer, it doesn't get you anywhere. So that I like this depiction for that. This is from my Vampire Tarot, and here what I like is that her hair is like going up in the sky, and it's kind of connected to the stars, but it's also in the water. So another good example for me for the as above, so below, really being connected with everything. And in my Atlantis Tarot, the star is actually called the Astronomer. And here he is, like this kind of speaks to the nothing is supernatural, like we all just have to find out what it is. And he has his instruments here and trying to make his calculation, find out things, put them in perspective, and demystify things that we might not understand just yet, but we will learn about them in the future. So those are the star cards that I have. Let's see. Okay, so then let's go to the minors, and let's start with the wands. So, would you like to start, Amy?
This is one of my favorite cards, the Eight of Wands, just because I like the way so many of them look. And for me, this card, I know it's a communication card, but it's really powerful. And after the Seven of Wands, it seems like a bit of a relief. I have two cards that I just love that have umbrellas from Mystical Moments. And this from Tarot of the Weird, it's very Mary Poppins, which I kind of like. Just this movement and going somewhere else and perhaps traveling or moving on somehow. Carla, I know you have the
go ahead and show it.
Yeah, it's really pretty. I just think that's such a pretty card. And this one is the Japaridze, and this is a volcano like erupting, and that is just all of that energy finally coming through the, spirit and the will, and all of and whatnot. And then I have the Robin Wood, and then the Midnight Sky edition of the Wandering Moon with, you know, all the energy and forward motion. So I love this card because I hate cards when I feel stuck, and I definitely don't feel stuck with the Eight of Wands.
Mhm.
Here's the Santa Muerte. So I like the movement in this card. I'm good. I'm done.
Yeah. I really like that representation of the bow and arrow for the 8 that you just showed, because
Yeah.
for me, that is what the 8 of Wands represents. It's like everything that we've just been through is that pulling back and finally releasing is the 8 of Wands. Literally, the
Yeah.
projection, the movement, the quick action in whatever situation, of course, that you're inquiring about. And in the This May Hurt, they use arrows, and then, but it's really interesting they added the animal element to it too, because, you know, not only us, but in the animal kingdom, and we're part of the animal kingdom, but like forest critters, you know, they even know to follow that. Like, nope, it's time, like there's a forest fire, it's time to run, or there's something coming to eat me, we better go. So, you know, we all have that instinct within us, but I think for humans, we tend to complicate that a little bit, which, you know, once we get there, there's complicating things, getting up in our head about it. But yeah, so with the Eight of Wands, it is obviously about the movement, but I think the most important thing is the trajectory, you know, of where you're headed. And again, finally taking everything that you've done building up to that moment where you can finally take action and things are finally like coming into place, is how I just see the Eight of Wands.
This one is the Mott Tarot, and it's really more of the communication side where she's finally maybe acting or saying what she has felt for so long. And I think, and you're totally right, it's kind of like all this energy, but where are you directing the energy and where are you putting the energy, or is it just an energy drain and wasted energy?
Exactly.
I find it interesting in the Psychic Tarot that the wands are spirit. And so the Eight of Wands is accelerated motion. So yeah, so like moving quickly. And it's also like progress. So yeah, movement. And then I also grabbed out the Impressionist Tarot, because actually Gerald had mentioned it in one of his videos. So I thought it was interesting. I thought I'd check it out because I don't read with it, but it's interesting how they put, you know, they use paintings and then that's what they pick for their representation of each tarot card. And this is Edward Monet, and there's like 8 posts, sail posts, and it's indicative of travel. So I thought that was pretty cool. Like I said, I don't read with it, but I thought it'd be interesting to get out and see some of the interpretations. And then in my the dragon, then it kind of looks like maybe like he's trying to get ahead of it, you know. So maybe sudden action. So he's like, I don't know, like it feels like he's just trying to get away from it. So I guess I could see that, what you're talking about, the release. He's pent up and he's getting ahead of it. So it's following him instead of him being in the middle of it. So, and the supernatural is just pips, you know. I mean, it's kind of, I see a lot of Eight of Wands that are just, all you see is the wands. But it's Mercury and Sagittarius, I think. So and one thing I wanted to mention too, that it's, some people use it as a yes card. And I think that Strength and Star card are also like yes cards. So I thought that was kind of cool. But that's all I have.
Okay. All right. So the Strength card. Strength card. This is the 8 of Wands. I'm sick. Brain fog. So here we have the Golden Dawn versions. And they are a bit different, but in both we have the hands coming out of the clouds, and in this one in particular, the hands get together in the what is called the grip of the First Order, and they have the wands in between them crossing. The wands in this card here are also crossing. At the point of junction, we have fire, which we see in both cards. And as you already said, it is Mercury in Sagittarius, and the card is called the Lord of Swiftness. And here we have another version of that with the Initiatory Golden Dawn, and here the wands are making up kind of the stairs. We do have the fire element in there as well. We have the hands holding them. And with the element of swiftness, we have someone running up those stairs. And so the Golden Dawn says about that card, this is too much force applied too quickly. It's violent but not lasting. Swiftness, courage, confidence. It speaks about hasty communication and messages. Short-term success, not lasting. And when we get to the RWS, this card in relation to Hod, the 8th Sephira, that, like I mentioned before, we are in the place of the intellect, the Mercury energy, the quickness. And it is one of 2 minor cards without any people. Don't ask me which the second one is right now. I can't remember. Maybe someone else will. And that's not counting the aces, though. And what we have in this card is a virtual explosion of energy, and this energy can also be sexual in nature. So if anyone is reading tarot in a 18+ kind of way, then this card would be a very specific moment in that. It can also be the climax of intuitive energy, our eureka moment, our yes, we finally did it. We get or new information rushes to us without us having to do too much for it. It's just coming towards us. But we should be careful, because depending on where we stand, when those wands come flying, we better get out of the way, because if they hit us, then that could be pretty painful if we stand right in the middle of such an explosion all of a sudden. And yeah, even if it's our intuition that explodes, those sudden realizations of truth can also be, well, they can be good, they can be painful, depending on what we're suddenly realizing. And yeah, that's what the 8 of Wands can be. So another version that I have here is them like torches coming towards us. This one always reminds me of that TV show Bewitched.
Yeah.
Like with her flying on the broom. That's just, yeah. And it's kind of fitting. Like I can see the 8 of Wands in the whole Bewitched thing. And another one here, the element of moving forward, is like the door is open and it's like she's almost flying up the stairs because she can't wait to get out from all that sticky stuff like underneath the stairs here. There's a lot of skulls. So just getting away from all of that and, you know, moving into the wide open and, you know, just getting away from something, making that impulsive move. So those are some of the 8 cards that I have for the wands. So let's see.
Nice. And it was the 3 of Swords is the other one. 3 of Swords and 8 of Wands are the only
Oh
ones
yes,
with
3 of Swords. Yeah,
people. Yeah.
the one card that no one really wants to get. All right, so Swords is a good segue. So let's go into the 8 of Swords.
Okay. 8 of Swords. This is my card. This is the Virgo card. This is me always being in my own fucking way card. Yes. So I understand this card can be read in various ways, but you know, reading for myself and reading for others, I always see it as this being self-induced. You know, that the person can just get up and get themselves out of the situation, but they've got themselves all bound up and all bent out of shape and all in their head and overthinking and just mentally stuck in that, and so that's just how I always see the card, self-binding. Really I don't have anything else to add to that card because I think it's self-explanatory in terms of that. And I was saying earlier how I normally look at the 8s is I start with the 8 of, okay, how did I do this now? The 8 of Swords, and then into the 8 of Pentacles, into the 8 of Wands, and into the 8 of Cups, because I'm all stuck up in my head, but I can work at it to get out of it. And then the 8 of Wands is a trajectory, and then you can finally walk away and start again or start anew, renewing it, right? So this mental stuckness for me is like where it all begins with the 8s, in terms of how I read it like a comic strip. But yeah.
Okay. Well, I have several 8 of Swords that I really, really love. Of course, the Robin Wood, which is very, RWS based. But, I do like that the clouds are breaking in the background. And this does remind me of the 2 of Swords in that the blindfold is on and she's really not seeing what's behind her or choosing not to look. I think the 2 of Swords always feels very stuck to me. And this is one of those stuck cards that, annoys me whenever I see it. I just don't like that stuck energy, feeling. But of course, she can walk away from her situation. What is trapping her in the 8 of Swords, and I really like the Light Seers for this reason is just her perception of the situation or her perception of herself. And, you can see that she's looking in her reflection, and her reflection is not reflective of what reality is, but she's staying stuck in that and not really thinking clearly. This is the mystical moments, and the cage is open, and this person has wings, and they could easily fly out, but they're just kind of staying and feeling sorry for themselves, maybe. And this is the Japarize, and you can see that there's a key in the door, so she could easily open the key and step out of her cell, but she's staying stuck because she believes she's stuck. And then in the Mott Tarot, one other interpretation I've heard of the 8 of Swords is blind patriotism. This card is the Sombrero Galaxy, but this card is kind of along those lines. Just really being blind to any faults or believing something without really having all of the information. It's just your perception getting in the way of the truth.
So the 8 of Swords is to me like that victim mentality. And in the Swords in the Psychic Tarot has a blue border, and it says trapped trapped in fear. So, and feeling trapped, trapping yourself like a your own prison thing, hopelessness, and the Eight of Swords and the Smoke, Ash, and Embers. I feel like it's a lot like the swords aren't even touching him really, but yet he's definitely like in fear. So I think that kind of represents that, like you were talking about, Amy, perception. So in the supernatural, this is Angel Anna Milton, and she gave up her grace because she wanted to be human. Oh, you know what? I'm showing the wrong card. This is Constant Welch. I'm showing the wrong card. Okay, so she's a ghost that gets men to come to her home where she died, and she tempts them to cheat on their wives. Well, and she does all this because she's like trapped in this, not realizing that she's dead for one, and she doesn't know how to get out of the situation. So again, it's that victim mentality, and you see that big time in the Everyday Witch, because she actually has like a broom, her broom and her witch hat. So it's like she has everything available to her, but she chooses to stay, trapped in those swords and blind to the fact, like the choices she's making, to be blind to the fact that she doesn't have to be there. So she's trapped herself, and so the other side of that, like swords being a no card, you need to take that control back. So that's what I got.
I like that they put the Lady in White on that card for the supernatural, because the victim mentality, as you said, because she blames her husband and every other guy that she kills, but she's actually the one who killed her children. So talk about victim stuff. All right, so let's go into these. So here are two of the Golden Dawn cards, and the Eight of Swords is called the Lord of Shortened Force, and we have Jupiter in Gemini, and we see four hands coming out of the clouds and holding those swords. We have two right, two left hands, and the rose is once again reestablished at the center. And this card in the Golden Dawn speaks about too much force is applied to small things. There's too much attention to detail at the expansion of more important points. So patience in studies is needed. This card talks about narrow, restricted, pettiness, being in some kind of a prison. The intellectual powers of Hod are weakened in this card. It's about distracting oneself in a way, or we are distracted from what's really important. And the focus and persistence are lost. Here is the Initiatory Golden Dawn. And in the RWS, this card, or the Golden Dawn, talks about this card as this is intellect out of balance. And a good catchphrase for this card could be, I think, therefore I am confused. So confusion of consciousness is cut off, so like obsessing sets in, and we just make ourselves sad with all the overthinking and obsessing, and because if we are not able to think of a solution for a problem, then it must mean there is no solution. But a very good phrase that I read in one of my books is, nobody knows enough to be a pessimist, which is true. And pessimism just leaves us blindfolded. And if we look at this woman, I mean, she's just standing there, but she's blindfolded. She doesn't know what's going on, so she can't really be pessimistic because she doesn't have all the info. So she doesn't know enough to be pessimistic in this situation. And yeah, we see all the swords next to her, so she's not surrounded by them. And like in the Seven of Cups in Netzach, that was the card where we had feeling in the Sephira of feeling. Now we have, with the Eight of Swords in Hod, the card of too much thinking in the thinking area of the Tree of Life. So if those two don't balance each other out, that's not really a good thing. We can get lost in our mind, which is not what we want. So this card challenges us and our preconceptions, which we all have. And it's also a warning of getting lost in solitude or seclusion where we shouldn't stay for too long. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, another, like the typical, like the swords are all in front of her. Like, she can just get out and do her own thing. Like, she's not bound by anything. This is from the, what is it, the Hollywood Tarot. And here, yeah, she's trusting, but yeah, she also doesn't know what's going to happen. So why be pessimistic about it? Just trust the sword thrower that he knows what he's doing. In the Ludi Lescott, the swords are not even really straight in the ground. Like they've just been put there. One is even leaning there, and she has even been given like a blanket to sit on. So I'm sure she can just get out of that whenever she wants to, but she's just sitting there waiting. She doesn't know what's happening. So the only thing that she can do at this point is just get lost in her thoughts. In the Vampire Tarot, it's a bit pippish here, but this shows the feeling of imprisonment. Like, hey, let me out. I don't know how to. And in the Pagan Tarot, she's actually not alone, the witch. Like, the members of the coven are there. And that speaks about no matter what situation you're in, even if you can't see it, but you can ask for help. You can have other people there that will be helpful if you need them. You don't have to go through all that stuff on your own. So the whole idea of, yeah, I need to figure this out myself doesn't need to apply. Like, you can always ask for help to get unstuck. And there's no shame in that. And another very interesting card that is really like our modern times in the Gay Tarot. Here we see like a subway train and a lot of people, and no one is looking at anyone else. Like, they're all just so caught up in their head and their own thoughts. One man is reading the newspaper with probably whatever bad news is going on in the world right now. Another one is probably thinking about the job, and another one about family situation, whatever. Like, they are so caught up, even though so many people in close proximity, and no one really talks to each other, no one is interacting with each other, and they're just so isolated, even in a mass of people. Mm-hmm. So those are my swords that I have. And next, let's talk about the pentacles. Your microphone.
Carla, you're muted.
Thank you. Thank you.
I didn't realize she was...
Grandbabies are here. Yeah, so this one is positive movement forward, and red actually is representative of Earth in the psychic tarot. So it means like a new job, employment, building a business. So, and you kind of see that with the light here. It means also craftsmanship or quality, um, commitment, dedication, concentration, success. So this is the card I was talking about earlier. That is Angel Anna Milton. And what had happened is she kind of gave up. She wanted to be human, so she gave up her grace to become human. She was an angel. And then she decided, because she had to protect herself, even though she uh, desired to be a human, in order to protect herself, she had to take her grace back. So I'm still showing you the wrong one. Scratch that. I don't know why that was in my, yeah, that's in my pentacles, but that's not who I was talking about. So we're going to scratch that one. Okay. So here in the dragon, smoke, embers, and ash, but it's more, it's almost like he's hoarding, but it's not. It's just more like, he's trying to build and hoard for success is what I was saying. It's kind of hard for me to even explain with dragons, and I'm not sure if I actually, yeah, they're beautiful cards, but this, for me, it doesn't really speak to what, like the Eight of Pentacles is, because it's also about patience. And if I'm correct, it's Sun in Virgo. So that's like almost methodical. It's like you're working hard. So I guess in that aspect, this one with the Everyday Witch shows that more, I think. And she's dedicated to her craft. It's kind of blurry, but, and Eight of Pentacles is a yes card. So and then in reverse, it would be like repetitive or boring. So it's like kind of getting stuck in that. So upright, it's very positive. So sorry about that. I keep getting those two cards mixed up. That's because I took notes, and I'm used to going wands, cups, swords, and then pentacles. So my notes, I still have cups up in front of me. So eventually I'll get to that card, but not yet. That's it.
Okay. I think that the Eight of Pentacles and the Eight of Cups are the opposite of the victim mentality of the Eight of Swords. So these cards are a little more get up and go, do what you need to do, invest the time in yourself. And so it might be someone who had that perception of being stuck or didn't like where they were, but they're putting the effort in to take that first step and make the change, and just little by little do something. So this one is, they have a needle and thread, so it's like they're building something, and it might take them a long time, but they're putting the intention and the effort into either a skill or just making their maybe into their health, or making their life look the way they want to. And most of these cards depict something like that, you know, decorating, making something look the way you want, or having a skill or a trade and putting yourself into that. The Robin Wood I've always thought is some weird like child labor kind of a thing. But it does have the idea of starting small and having to repeat something over and over and build those skills, and making that investment of time and energy into your own life, honing your craft and not expecting things to look exactly the way you want to the minute you start out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think these are all figures that accept that they might be bad at something at first, and they're willing to keep moving forward. So that's where all the power of the 8 is in the Pentacles.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Before I move into the Pentacles, I just want to point one more thing out about the 8 of Swords that you mentioned that's really important, is that the fact that, yes, okay, like the victim mentality, like you're stuck, whatever, but like you can ask for help. It's okay. You can swallow your pride. You can ask for help. You can delegate. You don't have to take it all on yourself. And I think that's an important part of that, because through that, and how I partially view the 8 of Pentacles, is that, there comes a time when you have to recognize that you have to take the bull by the horns and do the work. You have to do the work, not someone else. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to be supported. But when it comes down to this nitty gritty, fine detail, paying attention to those really fine details and honing into the work, and like you said, mastering the craft, no one can do that but yourself. And so once you find that, whatever that is, and when we say like craft, that could mean whatever it is to you. Once we find something that interests us in that way, that we can pay that much attention, that we can put that much dedication into, that really speaks volumes. Because when we look at the other cards that we just spoke of, sometimes it can be like we're trapped, like what do we do, like where do we go? But once you sort of break through that and you just begin the work, you can start to see your progress. And I think that gives you fuel to continue to move, as we eventually see in the rest of the minors as well. And the 8 of Pentacles in the Stretch Tarot here, I can really see that she's really understanding and honing that, like within her, like, okay, I have this within me, I can do this, I can move forward with this, but I have to do it alone, in this step of the way. Because there's steps on our path where you just have to do the work. You have to do the work. You have to put in the work. And I feel just what I've witnessed in life with a lot of our youth coming up, a lot of them want us to do things for them. And there's some times in life where you have to do it yourself. You have to do the work. And I feel that energy very much with the 8 of Pentacles, is putting in the work. So.
All right. Okay, so the 8 of Pentacles in the Golden Dawn deck looks something similar to this. The card in the Hermetic Tarot, or in the Golden Dawn, is called the Lord of Prudence, and yeah, we are Sun in Virgo now. And so we see the hand coming out of the cloud again, and it's holding a rose branch, but there are only 4 roses on the bottom pentacles, but not on the top ones. And we see that here in this other card as well. The flowers are only down there, but not in the upper ones. And so this card in the Golden Dawn talks about being over careful in small things at the expense of great success. So a little bit is better than nothing kind of mentality. The gain of money in small sums, lacking in enterprise. And Mercury's influence is helpful with material projects, but Virgo is paying too much attention to detail. So it's about applying energy wisely and to not be too nitpicky, because then we may end up with just half of what we could actually have.
Mm-hmm.
And in the RWS So the man that we see in the card, he seems to like what he's doing, and he is comfortable with it. He has developed some sort of expertise at what he's doing, so he's content with the world, willingly and happily doing that kind of work. But if this card is talking about like artistic kind of work, you can get stuck in the sense that if you keep repeating the same thing over and over again because it worked once or twice, and so you will just keep repeating the same process, that goes at the expense of creativity and like your artistic expression, for example. But as a craftsman, if you keep doing what you do, then that means like you have found a method that is proven, that works, and so you can refine it. And that comes after a lot of trial and error, usually. So this card also talks about focus and concentration, which can also isolate us from the world, because when we're working, we just don't want to be distracted by anything in order to get the work done, especially when we're on a roll, and we don't want to have any calls or anything interrupting us, family members walking in or whatever, so we just want to be in the zone. So we must know what our true work is. If we do not, the work will never express our true feelings and therefore never engage our passion. So it's also important to identify with what you do, and yeah, doing it from a place of like being satisfied with it, of course, makes it a lot easier than being forced to do something. Yeah, so if we just get lost in all of that, it could leave us empty and dissatisfied. So some other cards that I have here, for example, in the Gay Tarot, we have this watchmaker, and he's like very focused and everything, but he's also very isolated. Like there are no customers there or anything. He's just doing his work, and he's in his own world with that. But that, I don't know, it looks kind of sad to me. Like I feel he seems lonely in a way. Another one that's a bit different in the Haunted House Tarot. Here she's actually working a ritual. So this card talks about like really putting the dedication in. You really have to know what you're doing. You have to know your ingredients. You can't just half-ass this thing, otherwise it's not going to work. So you have to be focused, and you got to know what you're doing. And sometimes it is about trial and error to find out what really works. In the Pagan Tarot, this is really glossy, here we have work without too much effort. So she is sitting in her office talking to a client on the phone, while with the other hand, she's working a little bit of magic on her plant. So yeah, so if she doesn't focus on either one, that can be very distracting. So she should either focus on the call or her magic, and doing that, it can be kind of distracting. And I also have this in the Housewives Tarot. So this is, I don't know, her face is kind of creepy. It's like she's not really enjoying what she's doing, but she's doing it because it's expected of her. It's like a good housewife has to have certain hobbies and things that are expected of her, and the way that she keeps her household and all that kind of stuff. But this speaks to me like, yeah, look how much fun I'm having. No. That reminds me of that music video. Was it Soundgarden, Black Hole Sun or something, when they all smile like crazy? It kind of reminds me of that.
Yeah.
So that's a bit creepy. I don't want that kind of work. So,
No.
and that brings us to the last remaining suit, the cups. So,
Okay,
That's
well, we'll end on with a positive card, I guess. The Eight of Cups is, to me, the adulting card. So it's, you know, doing something that's very difficult because you know it's going to be really good for you, or walking away from a situation that maybe wasn't all bad or that was difficult to leave for whatever reason. And even though you might be heading toward more struggles, knowing that that's the right path for you. And just kind of taking care of yourself, even though it's difficult. And one thing that's interesting about a lot of the Eight of Cups, this is the Mott Tarot, is that they have that wand or staff in their hand. And so it's kind of like following their will and leaning on their, the force of their will or that energy to get things done. I like the Wandering Moon because it has this signpost and these, I wish you could see how shiny this thing is, but it has the signpost. You could go any number of places, but it's choosing a new direction. And in the Titanic Tarot, this person in the background has just kind of given up and accepted the situation and has just kind of given themselves over to the fact that it's not going to be the outcome they wanted, and they're going to, I guess, not struggle. And then in the mystical moments, they're walking away from this place that really was beautiful into this dark forest, and who knows what's going to be in there, but it was maybe just time, or maybe they're following they're following maybe the guidance that they received, even though they're going purely on faith and they don't have any proof that this is the right way to go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I had to unmute. So yeah, the Eight of Cups for me definitely has a few different meanings, or can be interpreted a couple different ways. And in the Psychic Tarot, it's green, which is connected to emotion and heart. And this one says emotional withdrawal, but it looks like he's meditating. So it's like maybe he's, it's self-introspection. So he's leaving whatever the turmoil is going on in his life, and he's taking that time to self-reflect on it. And then, so it's also like rising above all of it. And but maybe, like Amy said, maybe it's not for all the right reasons. Maybe it's or it's not what's best. Sometimes we just ignore it, which is kind of looks like what that dragon's doing. He's like trying to get away from it, and he can't get away from it fast enough. And in the Light Sphere, she's leaving a big bowl of heartburn right there, and headed towards a beautiful horizon there. So she's walking away from the bullshit. And so, but it could also mean like you've reached your limits and you're done. And so you're walking away. And so the card y'all have been waiting for, because I keep trying to put it in there. This is Angel Anna. And this is exactly what you were talking about, Amy. She wanted to become human, so she gave up her grace. And then even though it's not the outcome she wanted, in order to protect herself, she had to become an angel again, because unfortunately she's thinking that was the only way that she could protect herself, was to become an angel again. So that kind of speaks for that, even though it's not what we want to do. Sometimes we give up instead of doing the harder thing. So that's what I got.
And then she went and wanted to kill Sam and Dean before they were born.
Yeah, bitch.
Okay, so the Eight of Cups is actually one of my favorite cards in the tarot because for me, like, it represents finally, you know, taking that step to leave things behind. And in the This May Hurt tarot, I really like that some of the cups are broken because it reminds us that some things are better just left, not trying to be fixed. Like, just leave it be and just move on. And of course, that's easier said than done, which is why a lot of us don't move on like we should. But the most important thing when I pull this card is I always see like the mountains ahead, which just means, of course, we know like struggles and journey and everything is ahead. But what I tend to think about is Hermit, because I like, with being a Virgo, the Hermit is my card. So I always think, you know, with him or her, whatever, having the staff, it reminds me of the staff of the Hermit, you know, and see how the Hermit is on top of the mountain. I always think that's where this person is heading. Like, they're heading to the top of this mountain because they need that isolation, that time to finally, like, okay, what is it that I want? What, you know, what is it that I need to do to move on away from the situation? Because we need that time to get away from everyone else's advice and thoughts and whatever these broken cups are, you know, to really get back in tune with us, with our own intuition, to be able to move on, to move away from it. And then this well, this card in this deck here, this is called the Mouse Boat tarot, and you see this little critter, what is it, a weasel or something, I don't know, and you see that they're turning their back on all these like beautifully placed like teacups. And that always reminds me too, like, just because something is passed down in like a tradition, like from a family, like, you know, we used to be like, oh, well, you know, Aunt Marg's like tea set or whatever, like, don't you want this? You don't have to take that on. It's okay to, you know, leave that in the past and start your own traditions. So I thought that was a neat spin on the Eight of Cups.
All right. Okay. So here we have the two Golden Dawn cards. And the Eight of Cups is called the Lord of Abandoned Success. And we are now with Saturn in Pisces. And we see the hand holding up either it's water lilies or a lotus stem. So it's like in this one here, it's water lilies. This one, I'm not quite sure which one that is. So yeah, the water is flowing out of the flowers again, but only into the middle two cups and then into the two outer cups. So not all of the cups are actually getting some filling. And this is speaking about a temporary success without further results. Things are put aside as soon as they are gained. We're moving from place to place. It's a card about being restless and unstable. And here Saturn in Pisces is not well suited because Pisces is calm and passive, and Saturn turns the water into a completely stagnant pool. So there's nothing happening there. And the Mercury energy of Hod brings self-examination and introverted behavior, and disinterest comes out as a result. So in the RWS card we've already seen. No, wait, I have another Golden Dawn card. See, here's the modern version of that. And yeah, the hand is coming out of the pool here, but also only some of the, let's see, it's 1, 2. It's actually only just 2 out of the cups that are getting some water from the flowers. And so, yeah, not happy anymore, so we're just going to walk away from that. And so, yeah, in the RWS, this card talks about walking alone with determination to a place of higher ground. But why is the person even walking away? And why from so much? Especially here, we have all the cups stacked up so nicely. So some interpretations of this card could be like this could be a good example of consumerism. It's never enough, so we're always looking for something else to put with these cups, another cup, another item, another thing to get. Or someone is not willing to settle, so there must be something better out there, right? And this can also be an indicator of perfectionism. So it's not like I haven't found the Holy Grail yet. I have collected all of these other grails, but none of them is the Holy Grail, so I need to keep looking. It's not perfect just yet. And
Is that like deck mania?
kind of, yeah, like looking for the soul deck that we have heard so many times. Like, yeah, this is my soul deck and everything. And then we find another deck that's our soul deck and another one. So, yeah, it's like, is it not perfect? Is it not good enough? Well, then we're just going to say goodbye, kind of like been there, done that kind of attitude. And the idea of I'll just keep going until I find perfect. But yeah, we might be applying perfectionism in the wrong areas in our life. So this is really about a journey within, about introspection, reflection, effort to understanding our emotions. And the dark mountain is the unconscious, what Carl Jung calls the shadow. So we enter into our own darkness to get to a higher place of self. And in the haunted house, here she's looking towards another mountain where that mansion is actually standing that she's trying to get to. This one's just like, I'm done. Like, been there, done that. I'm leaving. This is, no, I'm not going to keep doing these dishes over and over again just because my husband thinks it's cool to just bring his boss and his wife very last minute, whatever. No, I'm done with entertaining. In Elodie Lescott, here we have a couple, and he seems to be like, it seems like she's wearing a wedding gown, not quite sure. But he wants to take her up to the house and start their life together, and there's some hesitation from her. So it's like, maybe I made a mistake. Maybe I don't want to be married. I don't know. I'm not really sure. So, and he's like, what's going on? Like, why did you not say anything before? So this doesn't look like it's going to be a happily ever after. Something that I like in this vampire deck is they have mirrors instead of cups. So here, this whole idea of walking away or something, like you can never really walk away because the mirrors are everywhere lining the way. So you will always get back to yourself and start reflecting and doing that because you will never be alone with your thoughts. They're always there, or like, yeah, your thoughts are your constant companion. So no matter how far you go away, they're always there, and you can always take that look in the mirror. And then another card in the Gay Tarot here, like getting on that plane to get somewhere else, because we have this idea of the grass is greener on the other side, but maybe we just need to go there to find out if that's actually true. So those are my cups, and that's all the cards that I had. So yeah, that was all the eights. Runaway Bride, yeah, she hasn't run away just yet, but she might. She might. So yeah. Okay, yeah, no more dishes. All right. So, any final thoughts on the eights? Anyone?
Final thoughts. Again, I just think in tarot specifically, when I pull an 8, it's just about taking action, about actually doing something. Like everything before the 8 was like sort of building up to it. And again, I think an important point we pointed out with the wands, just make sure that you're being intentional with where you're, putting that trajectory, putting your energy and attention to, because as we see in the original RWS with the greenery on the wands, there is potential there, but it can be lost potential if we don't know where we're aiming it. So so all about taking action, of course. We've said that many times. And again, it's about the context of the reading, of how I would read these cards, but for the most part, everything that we've just talked about here is how I interpret the cards. So yeah, thanks for having me. This was actually really cool.
Yeah, thank you
to learn from everyone.
Yeah. Thank you for being here
today.
And Kristen Louise just asked the question. So I might be teaching a class on tarot. Would you recommend teaching like this, doing it by numbers? Opinions, please.
Ooh. That would be really cool. Yes, because tying it all together, especially taking the majors and the minors together, is a very important part that I've been in a lot of tarot classes, and I haven't really seen it done in this way. They may tie it in. They may say one quick sentence about it. Oh, by the way, you may want, but tying it in this way, especially for beginners, I think is very important. Yeah.
Yeah. I have to say, going through the decks and actually going through all of my books and relating it back to the Tree of Life is something that really helps me to also get a lot more into the psychological aspect of tarot, and not so much the fortune telling aspect, and really using it for self-discovery. And so looking at it on the same scale, all the numbers really helps me, instead of having from ace to 10 and just looking at one suit, for example, which you can also do, but personal preference.
Yeah.
But it is helpful to take a card in the context of the card that comes before it and the card that comes after it.
Yes.
Kind of, if you're going to do it by suits, to tell a story in the suit. But it does also help to connect it up and down and across. So by suit, but also by number.
Carla is having problems with her sound. Oh no.
Oh.
Okay. Well, I hope, Kristen, that was helpful. And thank you, everyone, for being here today in the chat, joining us and listening to us. Thank you, Amy and Ange, for doing this. And in about 2 weeks, we will be on Carla's channel for episode 9. So watch for the announcement. I don't know if we're doing it Saturday or Sunday. Not quite sure right now. But yeah, in about 2 weeks, the next episode. So tune in for that. Of course, we will have guests again. And otherwise, have a nice weekend, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Happy Halloween.